Howdy Ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns, and welcome to the Let's Talk video I did not want to make. I really did not want to make this video. So I covered the Ostriches a couple months ago and the fight they were having to try and save these healthy. Make no mistake about it, these birds are healthy. The bullshit being pandered about the avian flu is complete, absolute crap. So we're going to go over that right off the bat. Two of the ostriches last year, over a year ago, did die from avian flu. And it was during the US's massive outbreak of avian flu. Now, how they got infected is anyone's guess. Probably some infected poultry came in from the States into BC, and yeah, it happened and they died. But that was it. There was no other sick birds. For over a year, there was no symptoms. There was nothing. And every qualified expert that was allowed to talk, because the Supreme Court and the courts refused to allow experts to talk on this topic, which was very telling on what their agenda was. Every expert said that the herd developed a herd immunity to the avian flu, a natural antibiotic immunity, not promoted by Big Pharma, obviously. And that's where the problem laid for the ostriches, is we know now that Mark Carney is massively invested in Big Pharma. And in February, the Liberals spent millions of taxpayer dollars on avian flu vaccines that Mark Carney is invested in. So these ostriches honestly didn't stand a chance from word go. But we all held out hope when the Indians got involved. I always forget what they call them now, so I'm just going to say, and there's no disrespect. That's how I was raised, was Indians, tribes. And so we all held out hope when they got involved and they declared that these animals were protected by them on native land. So there was a slight slimmer of hope that something good would happen. But you could tell by the behavior of CIFA and the RCMP that they were under orders to kill these birds at any cost. And over the last couple months, while this is all playing out, there was 400 ostriches, and somehow 100 of them miraculously disappeared over the last couple months. Strange. And we got reports of starvation because CIFA wasn't feeding them. And they did everything to make these birds sick so that they could show the world, look, they're sick. But these birds weren't sick. They were healthy birds. And again, every scientific expert has said that. The only people that say it's not are government employees and liberals and NDP and Greens, which I'll get to. So, yeah, the writing was on the wall, to be honest. But we still all held out hope, and they were murdered 2 nights ago. Flat out murdered. The Supreme Court did not allow experts to testify. The government was allowed to present their false evidence, but experts were not allowed to testify at any of the court rulings. So you kind of knew the fix was in right there, didn't you? And yeah, so they murdered 300 ostriches. Again, where did the other 100 go over the last couple months? They didn't die of illness. So what did they die of? There will be no investigation into that, but there should be. There really should be. And yeah, so like I said, I really didn't want to make this video. I was really, really, really hoping that sanity would eventually win out and these innocent birds, healthy innocent birds, would be spared. And they didn't even kill them humanely. They built up these blinds and then they just started shooting at random into the pen. And the birds are they're panicked, they're terrified, they're running each way, but they're in a pen, so they can't run anywhere. And CIFA just sat there, pew, 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 until they were all dead. Thousands of rounds of ammunition apparently was shot off. What are we? fucking monsters? Seriously, is that what Canada has become? Are we monsters now? Is this what we stand for now? Like, we know this is what Mark Carney stands for. He doesn't care if it's animal or human. He'll kill you for a profit. We saw that with Rockwell in the States when they bought the insurance company and just let miners die off because it was cheaper to pay off death benefits to the family than it was to pay the medication that the miners needed for black lung disease. So we know this about Mark Carney. But apparently, this is the new operating modem for the NDP, the Liberals, and the Greens, because they all held hands singing Kumbala. When the Supreme Court ruling came down that the appeal had been denied and the ostriches were to be culled, Sean Fraser, that piece of bleep and shit, said, good, we can kill him now. That's a direct quote, folks. Are we frickin' monsters? Because that's what it seems to me. That seems to be what the operating agenda is of Canada right now. Since 2015, we are doing the most monstrous shit to animals and people, all on behalf of our government. And I'm ashamed. I'm absolutely, positively ashamed of Canada. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I was already planning to vote separatism in 2026 in the Alberta referendum. If I wasn't, I would be now after 2 days ago. You don't kill healthy animals because you're protecting your wallet because you're heavily invested in vaccines. I'm not anti-vax. I'm really not. You know, I wish the COVID vaccine had grown a third arm, mutated me and grown it. That would be really handy. But other than that, I'm not anti-vaccine. And you don't kill healthy animals just to make money for yourself. That is evil. And I keep saying, Mark Carney is the most evil prime minister we have ever had in Canada. Period. No exception. Or as Carney would say, full stop. He could have easily stood up for these animals, used his influence as the prime minister, stopped the culling. But he didn't want to do that because it was big bucks for him, because he is heavily invested in Big Pharma, which I hate saying it that way because it makes, it's what you hear the conspiracy theorists say all the time, but it's actually true this time, is he is heavily invested in vaccines. So he needed these ostriches killed. And he even went to the point that he refused to allow the people to test the ostriches to prove they were not infected. They wanted to test the ostriches, and he said $250,000 fine per ostrich tested and 6 months in jail per ostrich tested if anyone went out and tested these ostriches for the avian flu. Why would you do that other than they're not infected and you want to ensure that nobody can prove it? That's the only reason you put a rule like that in. Because if there's no agenda there, then what's the harm of somebody? Like, we had private citizens offering to test the ostriches out of their own pocket. So this wouldn't even have costed the government. Private citizens were offering to pay the money. I think it was like $20,000, $25,000 per test. They were offering to pay it out of pocket to prove that these animals had no virus. And he put that rule in to ensure nobody ever tested these ostriches. Again, why do you do that? As near as I can tell, there's only one reason somebody does something like that. You can draw your own conclusions. As I said, I am absolutely disgusted with this government, with the people that prop up this government, with the parties that prop up this government, with anyone that supports this government. You are monsters. You are absolute, detestable, unethical, evil monsters. It wasn't the ostriches that needed to be ended. There, however, was one liberal that showed she had a heart, had compassion, had emotion, had self-respect, dignity. When she heard that the Supreme Court had ruled the culling could happen, She broke down in tears and ran out of the House of Commons sobbing. And I'm showing you pictures of it right now. She's the only one from the NDP, the Liberals, or the Greens that showed any form of emotion, humanity, compassion, dignity. As I said, Sean Fraser, when he heard about it, he said, good, we can kill him now. Again, what? Are we really, is that what society is now? Are we monsters? Like, is that what Canada is now? Because if it is, we have real trouble ahead of us. Because if that's the message we're sending people, there's people out there that are going to take that message to heart. And then we're really in trouble. And it's all because of Mark Carney, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens. And the RCMP and CIPA and the Supreme Court. However, I will say to the lady that started crying, okay, you've shown that you have a heart. Now show that you're a person of principle. If next week you are still a member of the Liberal Party, those tears were alligator tears. They were meaningless. They were absolutely for show and nothing else. Put your convictions where they matter. Walk away from that party. I'm not saying cross the floor, because I don't actually agree with floor crossing. Go sit as an independent. You can still vote with the Liberals if you really want to. Why you would want to, I won't know. But if that's what you want to do, but show us your convictions. Leave that party. Otherwise, you are just a member of evil. This is the party you belong to. They are murdering healthy animals, innocent, healthy animals, for profit. Just for profit, for no other reason. And they're not doing it in a humane manner. They are terrorizing these animals, torturing these animals, spending their final minutes on this earth in absolute panic, fear, and terror. What, is our government now Hala butchers where they hang up live animals and cut their throats and slowly bleed them out in torture and pain? Is that what our government is now? Because that's certainly not the Canada I grew up knowing. I'm almost 60 years old and I've never seen a government behave like this. Never in my life. And let's be clear here. Again, all the people on the farm were asking is the right to test the animals. If the test came back saying they had the avian flu, nobody was going to stop the call. Nobody. They just wanted evidence. And Mark Carney and the Liberals and the NDP and the Greens and the CFIP and RCMP and Supreme Court basically said, we don't believe in evidence. We're not ruled by evidence. Evidence doesn't matter to us. What the hell are we doing? Seriously, what the hell are we doing? And for you, those of you that don't understand why I keep mentioning the Greens are supposed to be an environmentalist party at their core. That's what they're supposed to be. They've never been that, but that's what they're supposed to be. So when the reporters asked Elizabeth, I Fall Down Nightly May, if she supported the ostriches, her quote was, no, I don't. Donald Trump recently came out and said that he doesn't want the ostriches killed. So therefore, I can't support the ostriches and they have to die. Yeah, that's what she said. She wouldn't support the ostriches because her radicalized extremist alt-left ideology and her Trump derangement syndrome is so strong that she was willing to let, well, at the time it was 400 ostriches. It got dwindled down to 300 by the time the calling started. But she was willing to let them all die because she doesn't like Donald Trump. That's what she stood for. That's her ideology. Does that sound like an environmentalist to you? That doesn't sound like an environmentalist to me. I mean, I'm a quasi-animal rights guy. I don't go out and protest or anything like that, but I'm very vocal supporting animal rights. And honestly, if I ever met Elizabeth May, well, it's not polite to say what I would do, but it would build up from here and come all the way up and then get directed. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah, so that doesn't sound like an environmentalist to me. That sounds like a very evil, very stupid, I can't call her a woman, so person. That's what it sounds like. A very evil, a very stupid person with no integrity or ethics or compassion or self-respect. whatsoever. Where was the NDP throughout all of this? Who knows? They were dead silent on it. They did not say boo about it. They didn't stick up for the ostriches, but they didn't say the ostriches needed to die. They just were completely non-committal. They just said, they just abstained. Oh, you liberals, you go do whatever you want. It's okay. You go ahead and ruin the country. That's okay. Yeah. Kill the birds. They haven't done anything, but go kill the birds. Yeah. There was only one party that stood up for the ostriches, and it was the Conservatives. And prior to this, if you had asked me what party wouldn't stand up for the birds, I would have said the Conservatives, because that's never been their strong mandate. Like, animal rights has never been Conservative agendas. Yet they were the only ones standing up saying, no, this is wrong. These birds are healthy. Let's test them. Went on deaf ears, obviously, and we know why it went on deaf ears. Carney is invested in big pharma, and it was big dollars, huge dollars. We just found out, as I said, we found out the Carney government just paid hundreds of millions of dollars for vaccines on January for the avian flu. Well, if these ostriches have herd immunity, suddenly those vaccines really aren't worth all that much, and his stocks go down. And that's all this was about. Well, that and liberals are absolutely inhumane when it comes to animals. I went through this with Kathleen Wynne when I lived in Ontario. The greatest example is the Newmarket bear. It wandered into Newmarket. It was terrified, but it didn't know how to get out. So it found a tree in a backyard and it climbed the tree. It didn't harm a person. It didn't snarl at a person. It didn't threaten a person. It hid in a tree. And what Kathleen Wynne did? She ordered the police to come in and shoot it dead, because that's what liberals do to animals. So yeah, the Conservatives spoke up. They did their best. And they had compassion. They had ethics. They had integrity. They had morals. The liberals, the NDP, the Greens, they don't have any compassion. They don't have any ethics. They don't have any morals. They don't have any dignity. They are evil. Let me repeat that. EVIL. Evil. Plain and simple. Evil. I am just so freaking disgusted, dejected, disturbed. The 3Ds, triple D. I honestly thought in my heart Canada was better than this. I really honestly believed that. This November 6th, no word of a lie, it shattered my 6-year impression of Canada. It's gone. Poof. Like the birds. All because of Mark Carney. And then let's talk about the Supreme Court. Ooh, what a bunch of heroes they are. Let's see, they've murdered the ostriches by refusing to allow any expert testimony, scientific testimony. We're always told, trust the science. Well, the science was on the side of the birds. So what did the Liberals and the Supreme Court and the NDP coerce? No scientists that weren't bought by them were allowed to testify. So they murdered these birds. They got blood on their hands, just like the NDP, just like the Greens, just like the Liberals, just like the RCMP, just like CFIF. They all got blood on their hands. And I hope none of them sleep another sound night for the rest of their fucking lives. But hey, let's not stop there. Last week, our beloved Supreme Court said a mandatory minimum of 1 year for a child pornography pedophile was too harsh of a penalty. And of course, Carney said, I won't use the notwithstanding because that's unfair to criminals. So yeah, way to go, Supreme Court. Like, yeah, those dangerous kids, they don't deserve to be protected. No. No, it's a good thing we have a left-wing Supreme Court that stands up for the criminals and just, leaves our kids to be victimhood. Come on, you're 3 years old. Learn to protect yourself. It's fucking unthinkable. It really is. And, it's not only that, though. These idiots also supported creating worldwide genocide through the WEF and the UN. I just saw a video today, actually, Moose on the Loose, and I'll do a video on this later because it was very, it really hit me. But it was out of the UK, and it was a 100-year-old World War II veteran sobbing on TV because, in his words, everything he sacrificed, everything his friends gave their lives for was for nothing because of what Stommer in the UK, but Stommer and Carney are exactly the same. So what they're doing to his country, his beloved country. Now, he feels, well, like I said, he was sobbing on TV. He was so dejected that his life, in his words, this was his words, his life was a waste. He said they were better, he said they were better off during World War II than they are nowadays. That's how disappointed he is in society in the UK, and that's what we got coming to Canada. Like, the birds are just the start, people. Yeah, so you can Google everything I just told you, and it's all just a keystroke away. It's all public knowledge. Now, man, I keep using the word, but I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with what's happening. I'm disgusted with what happened to these innocent, healthy birds. I'm disgusted with what our society is turning into. Yeah, I am so happy that I'm in the final stages of my life. Like I said, I'm almost 60. I'm in poor health. And I'm actually happy about that because I'm not going to be around much longer to see all this because it's breaking my heart what's happening in Canada. It's absolutely breaking my heart. Yeah, so that's all I have to say on this video. Evil won that battle anyway. But evil won, and really stupid people stood by silently and allowed it to win. Welcome to 2025. Anyway, that's my video for this week. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. You can tell me how you feel about Canada, how you feel about the ostriches, how you feel about pedophiles not going to jail. You know, feel free, come in. I'd love to hear from people. Not only that does that get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.